Welcome back to the Rules Plus podcast. In this episode, I'm going to continue working my way through the Sibling Rules Project with discussion of the similarities and differences between requirements for the offensive team and the defensive team during scrimmage downs before and at the time of the snap. This will be the 11th dyad I've chosen to consider, comprising rules separated at birth with the goal of creating a better mind map to understand the neighborhoods where parallel rules live. I've been strongly advocating that we resist studying rules in isolation and instead consider the ripple effects that rules have on each other. In comparing the provisions governing Team A and Team B just before and at the snap, I want to focus on two absolutely critical topics. One, whether violations must be treated as dead ball or live ball fouls, and two, whether a pre-snap violation should be ruled a false start against the offensive team or a delay of game by the defensive team, that latter foul now being commonly referred to as stemming. The term stemming is relatively recent terminology that appears nowhere in the rules book. So the place to start would seem to be to define stemming and consider where the term comes from and why it's become so topical. So, stemming, its meaning and origin. You will not find the terms stem or stemming in the NCAA rules book, as I just mentioned. I know this because I have searched for the terms in my PDF version. So I took the next logical step of turning to Wikipedia, the research archive of choice for term paper writers everywhere. What I found is that Wikipedia doesn't seem to do football. In its view, stemming refers to, quote, the process of reducing inflected words to their word stem or root form, end quote. Why do I share this information from Wikipedia? Well, because it occurs to me that this notion is more relevant to this discussion than it appears at the moment. I'll get back to this in a moment. After my disappointing returns from Wikipedia, I took the next logical step that I should have taken in the first place. I Googled the terms. The search returned several informal, unofficial football officiating websites whose credibility I can't vouch for, so I won't appear to endorse them by identifying them, but they did provide thought-provoking information nevertheless. Concerning the meaning of the term stemming, one site suggested this credible, well-stated definition. Quote, stemming is a technique used by a defense to cause confusion for an offense's blocking schemes. A defense will normally stem after the offense has broken their huddle and have set their offensive formation. Stemming can be a very successful technique to confuse offensive blocking schemes. End quote. Concerning the origin of the term stemming, a contributor to a discussion board offered this interesting speculation dated December 2011. Quote, this is colloquial terminology that has started to show up in some circles, probably introduced by NFL guys to NCAA guys. Usually, such colloquialisms are intended to speak to the lay spectator at their level of rules and understanding, as well as provide a one- or two-word foul description. Unfortunately, at least in this case, not even the lay spectator knows this terminology. Yet. I hope they don't get to know it. I hope RR issues a bulletin directing that this particular term not be used. As unusual as this foul is, just take the extra few seconds to say, interior quote, delay of game, number 77, defense. The defensive player made an abrupt movement with the intent of causing a false start. 5-yard penalty, third down. End interior quote. And we wouldn't be having this discussion, end quote. This certainly sounds like it's authored by an active college official, especially with the reference to RR issuing a bulletin. I presume he's referring to Rogers Redding, who was secretary and rules editor for NCAA football from 2008 to 2017. I find particularly interesting two comments in this active official's contribution. One, his suggestion that the term stemming was not, at the time, familiar to lay spectators, with the added parenthetical notion, yet. And two, his matter of fact assumption that stemming for illegal purposes was an, quote, unusual, end quote, foul. From where we are now, 12 years later, the term stemming is now well established in the lexis of officials, spectators, coaches, and commentators, and its illegal use as a device to coax a foul by Team A, especially in short yardage situations, has become something of a scourge on the game. Okay, so back to my reference to the Wikipedia definition of stemming and why it's relevant here. The terms stemming and stem, the noun and the verb forms, are indeed examples of linguistic morphology, related as one being the inflection of the other. Wikipedia instructs that, quote, the stem need not be identical to the morphological root of the word. It is usually sufficient that related words map to the same stem, even if this stem is not in itself a valid root, end quote. So I might say that stemming stems from stem. Okay, sorry for the dad joke. I'll get on now to the matter at hand. I'm first going to look at offensive team requirements before and at the snap. With that bit of background on the meaning and origin of stemming by the defense, I'll now cover in turn the restrictions on offensive and defensive players, beginning with Team A. The Rogers Reading Study Guide has thorough coverage of general scrimmage requirements, especially on pages 36 through 44 of the 2023 edition, coverage that I'm going to largely parrot for you here. Restrictions on Team A apply in 6 areas: encroachment, false starts, shifts, formations, numbering, and motion. Let's look at each area in turn. The area of encroachment. The first topic to address is vocabulary. Violations related to the neutral zone are referred to as encroachment when committed by Team A and as offside when committed by Team B. Indeed, among the official signals shown in Appendix F, this distinction is clearly reflected. Signal 18, the familiar pose of hands on hips, indicates offside by Team B. And note that there is no S on the end of that term. And signal 19, the familiar arm rolling action, indicates encroachment by Team A. Of course, signal 19 is also used to indicate a false start or an illegal formation, and the one exception concerning signal 18 is that it can be used to indicate offside by the kicking team during a free kick play. I've mentioned in an earlier episode that this distinction is not trivial because encroachment is a dead ball foul, whereas offside is a live ball foul. If you have a foul for encroachment and let the snap occur and the down proceed, and then you report to the referee that you have offside, you've created a situation ripe for misinterpretation and confusion. Indeed, here's a play scenario that has occurred this year in a game I worked. On 4th and a yard, Team A is going for the first down. The wideout remains in the neutral zone even after the covering wing official informs him of that. At the snap, the wing official drops his flag and the play continues, with Team A failing to get the first down on an off-tackle dive play. The foul is then reported as offside, and so my initial signal is offside defense because the play was neither killed nor was the foul reported as encroachment. I share blame with the reporting official because I did not slow down and ask for additional clarification. Because we let the play proceed fully, we resolved the situation by waving off the flag. The situation was awkward enough as it was. Imagine if Team A had made the first down. What bad option would we have invoked then? If we don't immediately shut down a play when what should be a dead ball foul occurs, we have created a very tough situation. This is a lesson better learned listening to a podcast or studying the NCAA rules book or the Reading Study Guide. So, regarding restrictions on Team A before the snap occurs, violations result in a dead ball foul. Typical violations of this type are encroachment, substitution infractions, and false starts. Restrictions on Team A as the snap occurs can be trickier to handle because some fouls that are simultaneous with the snap are infractions that occurred while the ball was dead, but that do not become fouls until the ball is snapped or kicked. Such fouls are considered to have occurred during the down because the rationale is that the illegal acts can be corrected up to the time the ball is put in play. Such fouls are enforced from the previous spot, not from the basic spot. Most such correctable until the snap fouls can only be committed by the offense, but there are a few, such as offside, that can be committed by the defense. The violations by offense that are correctable until the snap include illegal formation, illegal numbering, illegal motion, illegal shift, and illegal substitution. However, there are exceptions, wouldn't you know? Here are two examples involving an illegal shift and an illegal substitution. 1. Breaking the huddle is a shift, and if the snap occurs without all 11 players having been set for at least 1 second, the illegal shift becomes a false start by rule, which then is a dead ball foul. 2. A 12th player leaving the huddle within 3 seconds but not getting off the field before the snap is a substitution infraction, which is a dead ball foul. Even though Team A could have corrected the violation by snapping the ball a count later, if Team A has 12 on the field at the snap, it has committed a dead ball foul. You'll see that in Rule 353. Next, the area of false starts. The Team A pre-snap restriction on false starts is the clearly most relevant topic for discussing the contrast with stemming by the defense. The restrictions vary in strictness depending on a player's position as an interior lineman, a snapper, a back, or a quarterback. Linemen wearing numbers 50 through 79 bear the heaviest burden in not simulating the start of a play. Once an interior lineman places his hand on or near the ground, he may not lift a hand or make even a flinching movement. Such players are restricted by number and position, but not necessarily only by number. If number 79 takes a position as a back, he is not restricted in the same manner as a lineman. A Team A player who takes a position neither on the line nor in the backfield and inside the widest lineman, what longtime Tasso Executive Director Dotson Lewis referred to as a mugwump, is restricted in precisely the same way as interior linemen. If the mugwump is outside the widest lineman, he is not restricted, but he does make the formation illegal. more about requirements for an offensive formation in a moment. For players who are not interior linemen or linemen wearing 50 to 79, what constitutes a false start is a bit of a question. The restriction on these players is simply that no one may make a quick or jerky motion. So, does a running back who forgets to count and leans forward and catches himself commit a false start? If you think the act simulated the start of the play, he did. If not, he didn't. Intention should not be a factor in your decision. The area of shifts. Anytime two or more players on the offense move simultaneously between the ready for play and the snap, there has been a shift. A shift doesn't end until every player has been motionless for at least 1 second. So if someone goes in motion immediately after everyone else has become motionless, the shift continues. There may be more than one shift during a down. And it's important to distinguish between restrictions related to shifts and those related to motion by a single player. For example, if the snap immediately follows a back moving to another position and becoming set, there is no foul for not having a 1 second gap. As mentioned earlier, breaking a huddle or moving quickly to snap the ball after a previous play is a shift. So if there is not a 1 second interval when every player is motionless, the offense has committed a foul. In this case only, an illegal shift becomes a false start and therefore a dead ball foul. Any other scenario that includes an illegal shift requires treating the foul as live ball and using signal 20 with two hands swinging out from your torso. The area of formation and numbering. The rules book specifies requirements for plays from scrimmage, 714A, scrimmage kick plays, 21610, and free kick plays, 612. For plays from scrimmage, Team A may have no more than 4 players in the backfield and must have a minimum of 5 players on the line numbered 50 through 79. Veteran officials will recall a time when a minimum of 7 players were required on the line. So if the referee and umpire counted 10 players in the game, it was time to do some math and count how many linemen and backs there were. But let me emphasize, that rule was stricken many years ago, so it's important for wing officials to count the number of backs, not the number of linemen. For scrimmage kick plays from a scrimmage kick formation, there is the exception for having 5 linemen numbered 50 through 79, so it's important to note who the eligible receivers are. There is also an additional requirement that any player who is originally an exception to 50 through 79 numbering may not be in an eligible receiver's position at the snap. Such a player has fouled already, whether or not he touches a forward pass anywhere or is illegally downfield. For free kick plays, there must be at least 4 players on each side of the kicker, and there are restrictions on where the non kicking players on Team A line up. To summarize, there are 6 ways for the offense to be in an illegal formation at the snap. 1. Having more than 4 players in the backfield. 2. Having fewer than 5 players on the line, numbered 50 through 79, except when in a scrimmage kick formation. 3. Having a player who is an exception to scrimmage kick formation numbering in the position of an eligible receiver. 4. Having a player out of bounds. 5. Having a mugwump, with the exception of the quarterback. And 6. Having a player or substitute who did not satisfy the 9-yard marks rule. Any of these problems can be corrected prior to the snap, so violations are live ball fouls. The area of motion. One player may be in motion at the snap, moving backward or parallel to the neutral zone. The player may not make a quick or jerky movement that simulates the start of the play when he goes in motion, and a lineman may go in motion only after establishing himself as a back by moving off the line and pausing for 1 second. So now let's talk about defensive team requirements before and at the snap. Compared to the offense, the defense enjoys considerable latitude in what it may do prior to the snap and how it can position and substitute its players. Unlike for Team A, with restrictions in 6 areas, Team B is restricted in perhaps 2 equivalent areas. Action near and in the neutral zone that corresponds to Team A's restrictions concerning encroachment and false starts. There really are virtually no analog restrictions on Team B corresponding to Team A's restrictions regarding shifts, formations, numbering, and motion, except for a very few special case situations during scrimmage kickdowns concerning formations. Restrictions on Team B apply in essentially then these 2 areas. Offside, equivalent to Team A encroachment restrictions, and illegal stemming, corresponding to Team A false start restrictions. Let's look at each of the 2 areas in turn. But after that, and before closing the episode, I will briefly note the very few special cases during scrimmage kickdowns when there are restrictions on defensive formations. The area of offside. There are 2 cases in which Team B can be offside. One, threatening a Team A player by entering the neutral zone, or 2, positioning in the neutral zone at the snap. Case 1, threatening. As with Team A, Team B's offside restrictions begin with the indication that the ball is ready for play. Unlike Team A, Team B may enter the neutral zone without fouling if the act does not cause a false start by Team A. Otherwise, Team B has fouled. For its part, a Team A player may not feign a reaction by making a delayed response to Team B's entering the neutral zone. And there is a 3-player restriction on whether Team A can claim to have been threatened by the Team B player. If the Team B player who enters the neutral zone without making contact is head up on a Team A player, only that Team A player or teammates immediately beside him on either side may be considered threatened. If the Team B player is opposite a gap, only the 2 Team A players on either side of the gap may be considered threatened. Case 2, positioning. While Team B players, like Team A players, may not be in the neutral zone at the snap, Team B players do enjoy a privilege that the offense doesn't. It can correct the situation until the snap occurs. The exception, of course, is if a Team B player, perhaps anticipating the snap, contacts a Team A player or is charging dangerously toward a Team A back, typically the quarterback. The area of stemming. Team B players within 1 yard of the neutral zone may not make quick, abrupt, or exaggerated actions that are not part of normal football movement to make normal defensive adjustments. Actions designed to induce a false start by Team A. This is a foul even if Team B does not enter the neutral zone. It's instructive to compare the adjectives in the language of the rules concerning false starts and illegal stemming. Team A may not make, quote, quick, jerky, end quote, movements. Team B may not make, quote, quick, abrupt, or exaggerated, end quote, movements. For me, the difference between jerky and abrupt and The addition of exaggerated introduces an element of intentionality to stemming that is not present in false starting. I believe it's generally true that a Team A player false starts by accident. A Team B player illegally stems by design. And that's why it's a tough call for us to identify stemming, a much tougher call than for us to recognize a false start. To be sure, Team A's quarterback, for example, may use his voice, inflection, or hand movements to simulate the start of the play. Team A may shade the 1 second requirement to be motionless after a shift to get a jump on Team B. Those are certainly false start fouls with intentionality. But the pervasive intrusion in recent years of attempts by defenses to use stemming as a tactic for disrupting offenses has become troubling. And that seems to be the rationale behind recent emphasis on recognizing and penalizing stemming quickly. Area of formations. This discussion has focused on scrimmage downs. You should note that most everything I've covered for plays from scrimmage also applies to plays from a scrimmage kick formation. But there are three exceptions of importance concerning the defensive formation during downs that begin from a scrimmage kick formation. Exception 1. During a field goal attempt or a try down, it is illegal for three defensive players to align shoulder to shoulder and move forward at the snap with primary contact against a single Team A player. The foul carries a 5 yard penalty, not 15, and you can find this in Rule 6314B. Exception 2. During a scrimmage kick or place kick down, it is illegal for any defensive player within 1 yard of the neutral zone to line up within the frame of the body of the snapper. A violation is a live ball foul penalized 5 yards, not 15 yards, from the previous spot. This is in 6314A. If the violation instead is contacting the snapper within 1 second of the snap, the foul is penalized 15 yards from the basic spot. That's in 9114. And exception 3. During a place kick down, and only in Texas high school football, any defensive player within 1 yard of the neutral zone and not in a 3 or 4 point stance, it is illegal to initiate contact with a Team A player within 1 second of the snap. That is a rule introduced this year by the University Interscholastic League, the governing body for Texas high school athletics, not an NCAA rule. A violation is penalized 15 yards from the basic spot. I should also note that defensive formation also matters in determining whether there is a personal foul or unsportsmanlike conduct during a scrimmage kick down or a try if a Team B player attempts to block a kick by leaping or gaining leverage by using a teammate or opponent for leverage. Roughly speaking, players aligned within 1 yard of the neutral zone at the snap have fewer restrictions on such acts than do players aligned deeper, who must move forward to attempt to get at the ball. You can find this in 9.1.11. So that's a wrap. On the way to comparing the offense's responsibilities to avoid a false start to the defense's responsibilities to avoid illegal stemming, I covered a lot of important stuff that wing officials have to be alert for every down. Often, no calls in a game for holding, pass interference, or a personal foul are any bigger than a line of scrimmage call at a critical moment. While Team B generally enjoys much more freedom to act than does Team A, when it comes to false start versus stemming, the two teams share reasonably similar responsibilities. Illegal stemming has become virtually the defensive team's equivalent to the offensive team's false start. Get this right early, and the rest of the game is likely going to be a whole lot smoother. Next week's dyad for comparison will be illegal touch versus illegally touching. I hope you'll tune in. Remember, I'm a member of the Austin Football Officials Association. If you'd like to learn more about us, contact us. You can email us at recruiting@afoa.ws, visit our website at www.austinfootballofficials.org, or call us at 512-298-2987. Have a great week.